This video is going to focus on the difference between survival tactics and survival strategy. Now, to understand the full reality of this video, you have to look at the difference between what tactics are and what strategy is. Okay, tactics are short-term responses to immediate threats. Okay, flanking is a tactic. Camouflage is a tactic. Strategy is using those tactics to reach goals. Strategy is a successive series of goals which allow you to reach your end goal. Both strategic and tactical planning is very similar. METT-T still applies. Mission, enemy, troops available, terrain, time. That still applies. Okay. The reverse planning stage, and I've already done a video on the tactical planning part too. The reverse planning still applies. You start with your end goal and you work backwards. You look at what you need to reach that goal and you work backwards to it. The difference is that you use your tactical planning to reach your strategic goals. So you take each stage of those plans, and in each stage of those plans, you develop a tactical plan for achieving that, but and you fall back on using different methods and things like that, which is where the tactics come in at. But the tactical methods being used isn't the focus. The focus is the goal, the strategic goal. Now we're going to break this down into 5 goals for your survival strategy. Your end goal, your long-term goal, your mid-term goal, your short-term goal, and your immediate goal. Now, I actually have this. I had to write this down as make a notation for it, and you should get a piece of paper to do your strategic plan on. Because believe me, it's hard to do it just in your head. It helps to have it on paper. Your end goal, we're going to start with the reverse planning stage here. Your end goal, your mission for your end goal is to create safety, security, and a modular return to normalcy. Or normality, how you want to think of it. Now, that's your end goal. How are you going to achieve that? It sounds nice, it sounds great, but how are you going to achieve that? You're not going to achieve that hiding in your house with a gun protecting a bunch of cans of beans, waiting on gangs of looters to come in so you can blast them away, and that's not going to happen. That's not realistic. I've in one of my videos previously, a couple of my videos previously, I've said that you can prep as a lone wolf, but you can survive as a community. Think about this for a minute, right? So let's apply METT-T to that end goal, okay? The mission, which I've already stated, is a return to safety, security, and a modular return to normalcy. The enemy is whatever catastrophic event puts you in that position. Hurricanes along the coast, tornadoes inland. Some states like Tennessee are notoriously bad for having tornadoes. They're not too common out here in West Virginia, but you know what's real common out here in West Virginia? Floods and blizzards. Yep. So that could be the enemy. Civil unrest if you're in a city, it's different things. Nuclear war. If you really want to prep for that, I don't think there's much I can do about it. So except get as close to the blast radius as possible, drink a beer, and kiss my ass goodbye. I'd rather go out quick than go out slow. So now we've already seen the mission and the enemy. Now we're going to look at troops available. Troops available for your interim goal, because you're going to have to create a haven. You can't do this by yourself. You're going to need other people, family, friends, neighbors. So we know you're going to have to get everyone else on board. And you might not be able to get them on board until the shit has already hit the fan. Too bad. That's life. Sometimes you're just going to have to plan to, plan the plan ahead. And that's essentially what strategy is. Now we're looking at your terrain, whether you live in a city, a rural area, whether you're talking mountains and forest, or desert in Arizona. You're looking at your terrain. Now, I'm not going to get into the whole ACOCA thing, which is observation fields of fire. That's all in the tactical planning video. You can go reference that. I'll put a link up here, maybe. And then the last thing you're looking at is time. What is your time for your end goal? What is the time frame that you want to be able to reach your end goal? Now, if you have no training whatsoever as an individual, you're not going to reach that end goal because you need to train up and learn to do your job. Part of leadership is being technically and tactically proficient, which means you need to be good at your job, whatever your job is. So, right now that end goal's out there. But our long-term goal, and how we're going to achieve it, is to create a foundation for community as a safe haven and a return to normality. So we need to have a structure there so that we can go to our neighbors and say, hey, let's work together. Now, they don't have to be preppers. It helps if a few of your neighbors are preppers. It helps if all of them are preppers. But if they're not, cool. If they are, fine. Either way, it doesn't matter. All right? Because you're working on creating that foundation. So, there's your mission. Your enemy is still whatever catastrophic event occurred. It might even be a crime wave in the aftermath of the backlash of it. So, we're looking at, we're up to the troops available. Well, that's the whole community. So you need the whole community to make the foundation for the community to become a safe haven. So you can reach your end goal of safety, security, and a modular return to normality. Now, during this end goal, what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to reach this point, to have this safe haven, you're going to have to sit down and basically keep files on all your neighbors. You're going to have to know, even if you can keep them in your head, that's good. You're going to have to know, what their moral disposition is. Their not just their morality as their moral disposition. You have to know what their morale is. How well they handle stress. You're going to have to look at skills and training and jobs and everything else, not just of what you need, but what you have in the civilian world. So, you're going to have to work on that idea, and you're going to have to basically know where these people fit in, and you're going to have to know how to use those skills. Which all comes down to your midterm goal, okay? But we're going to keep dealing with our long-term goal right now. All right, now we're also looking at not just knowing how to use your people, the troops, because when you get that troop thing, you also go into supplies, support elements, and all this other stuff, which you're not going to have a support element. You're going to have what supplies you have, and you're going to have to work with that. And you're going to have time. How well can you get these people to get their shit together to go do what they got to do? That's going to be an issue. But we're going to work with that, all right? So, because that comes back to our short-term goals, our midterm goals. But as you're working on this whole thing for your normalcy, and you're trying to develop the foundation for the community, you also need to be seen as a leader. So that means you need to already have a foundation cut for on the socio-political landscape for people to know you as an intelligent, rational, practical human being. So you can't come off as all, we need to get guns and beans and we need to rack up with molly suits and go out and be ready to repel zombies, because you're going to look like a fucking nut. So that's out the window. Let's take a calmer, more adult approach. Okay. Now you're also looking at your terrain and your time frame. Okay. So now we reach our midterm goals, which is to develop a foundation for community support and to be seen as a leader in the community. All right. Well, that's cool. How are you going to develop a foundation for for community support. Think about this, right? Well, there's already various organizations and communities which can be used to help organize the community. Homeowners association, neighborhood watch, a combination thereof, whatever. You can use these things. I'm sure a lot of communities will, especially when everyone living around the church is a member of the church, will band around the church, and you have that church as a possible network for the community to develop that support and everything else, and be seen as a leader. You don't want to be seen as the leader. You don't want to go out and try to be the tyrant, the king, whatever. I'm in charge, and you don't want to do that. You want to be seen as someone who offers suggestions, guides people, gives them intelligence, gives them an intelligent response, knowledge, forethought, planning, but you do not want to be seen as the guy trying to take over. Because when you do that, you become the enemy, because nobody likes to be bossed around. Nobody wants to be taken over. So you want to be the that calm source of intelligence and mind and thought and planning. And then again, METT-T applies. For that, you're going to be looking at your mission, which you already know. Your enemy is your catastrophic event, which is, looming over top of you. You need to look at the troops available, which is the community. Now, this is where you also need to start looking at who the other leaders in the community are and getting their support. You also need to look at the terrain and the time that you have to get these people organized. And, when you're developing this community support thing, I'll give you an example. Neighborhood watch, right? You can go become a member of the neighborhood watch. You can get up there and learn a lot about people, because a lot of times neighborhood watch guys are friends of or former law enforcement, former military, whatever. And you can come into that position to where, if you're learning karate or MMA or something like that, you can offer to teach it to the other guys, just in case. You can get these guys, playing paintball. Go out, have a few beers. Hey, let's go play paintball. Bring up a suggestion. Get them out there doing it. It'd be harder in places like LA. Well, maybe not LA, but it'd be harder to get these guys to going for paintball and, that combat military game shit than it would be for, in some liberal state, than it would be to do it in a conservative one, where people enjoy their gun culture. It's just one of those weird little things. What's going to happen for this, primarily in this situation, is that you're going to have to get these guys doing this training. And, little stuff along the way, you get them doing, the paintball stuff. Do it for a couple of times. Everybody likes it. Then you turn around and go back and, introduce some basic tactics. Flanking, react to contact, stuff like that. And then you can bring that out on the, community watch. A dog gets in a trash can. Hey, I'm going to go this way. I want you to flank him. So we'll scare him and he'll drive this way. And we can get him away from the trash can. Okay, cool. Well, hey, we used our tactics. If it comes down to a major catastrophic event, you have to go armed on your community watch. Then, you have basic tactics, the basic react to contact that you can apply. And then that's your midterm goal. Now we get to your short-term goal, to learn about your community and the key leaders in your community. This can range from the local pastor to a mechanic, just some hard ass who thinks he's Billy Badass, but he has a whole lot of little criminal lackey followers. You might not want to approach this person as being a leader, but in all reality, they probably are to a small extent. At least in their social circle, they are. And these are the people you want to deal with. You don't want to come to them like, You need something from them because they'll see that as weakness. But you do want to come to them from a position that you can offer them something, and they need you, even if they don't want to admit it. Now, putting these different leaders together is a little bit of an issue, but that's your midterm goal that you're going to have to do to be seen as a leader, to get all these other leaders together in your community to get stuff done. However, at the same time, you're going to have to go back to your short-term goal of learning who these leaders are in your community, of learning about your community, not just the terrain, but the socio-political terrain of those around you. And by socio-political, I'm not talking about, Democrat or Republican or liberal or conservative. I'm talking about whose opinion carries weight, who has clout, who gets things done. Those are the people you need to focus on. Then you go to your immediate goals, and your immediate goals are within 1 to 3 months, which is you need to develop individual skills. You need to learn first aid. You need to learn marksmanship. You need to learn self-defense, and you need to start meeting your neighbors. You need to start meeting your neighbors before you start worrying about who the leaders in the community are. You need to start meeting the people in the community. You need to start figuring out who is what, when, and where, and taking notes. That's where using your head comes in. This is strategic planning, because here's what's going to happen. All right, if you start working on developing your own personal skills now, and you start meeting people in your community, and you start knowing who the key leaders in your community are, and you start talking to them and dealing with them, and you start offering advice and having them support you on different projects and stuff, you start being seen as a leader in the community, which is your midterm goals. All right. And when the community likes you and the community deals with you, and even the people you don't want to deal with, that criminal element that I brought up that you might have to deal with as a leader in the community, if you don't bother them, they don't bother you, and they know that bothering you is going to bring them more trouble than it's worth, they're not going to bother you. They're just going to leave you the hell alone. And so, even then, when you need to create that foundation for a community as a safe haven and a return to normalcy, the criminal element's always going to be there. There's always going to be liars and thieves and con artists and people trying to look out for number one. They do that now when there's an abundance of things. They'll do that even more so when there's less. You're not going to change human nature, but you can create that foundation for a community as a safe haven. If these guys want to go and rob other people and stuff outside of your community, there's not really a whole lot you can do about it. You just don't want it to be an overt thing to where everybody in the community knows what's going on. But at the same time, hey, they got to do what they got to do. If you need pain meds and these guys got to break into a pharmacy that's been flooded out to get those pain meds because somebody's got a broken leg and they need pain meds and antibiotics, then you're going to have to, do something. And sometimes those guys with that criminal mindset, believe it or not, they get things done, whether or not it's legal, whether or not, any of that matters. They don't really care. It's whatever it takes to get the goal done. And hey, sometimes you need that. Sometimes you need to worry about the repercussions of your things later, of your reactions later. But let's face it, if you got some guy in jail because he broke into a pharmacy during a flood and stole some pain meds and antibiotics to patch up your brother's broken leg to keep it from rotting off from gangrene, I promise you're going to like that guy. You're not going to care that he stole cars or robbed a liquor store or that he does drugs. Hey, he's the guy who just saved your brother's life. And, here's the thing about it. People don't realize this. Most criminals in and of themselves are followers. Okay? But more importantly, there's a lot of criminals out there who are leaders. They're leaders because they don't listen to what everyone else tells them. And if you can't listen, you can't be a follower. If you're not a follower, you have to lead. A lot of times that's not always a good place to follow these people. They lead you into places you don't want to be. But they're there. They're leaders in that community. And now here's the thing about it. When you reach this catastrophic event, when this catastrophic event occurs, if you've already met your immediate, short-term, and mid-term goals, You already have everything in place for your long-term goals. So let's say you've already met your short-term goals, and you can't meet your long-term or end goal until the catastrophic event occurs. And your catastrophic event occurs. You get a flood. Houses are destroyed. Um, um, the water recedes. People come back, and everyone's crying about this or that. And here's the thing about it: you have a foundation for the community as a safe haven and return to normalcy. Hey, Mary, you're a school teacher, right? Well, yeah. Look, I think it's better for the kids to take their mind off this. Can you teach them out of your house? I mean, I realize there's not much of a house there because of the floodwaters and stuff, but I want to give you guys a couple days to clean up. But I think if we can get the kids, going back to school in some fashion, it'll help uh, 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 keep them out of trouble, and it'll give them a sense of normalcy and keep the panic and everything else down, because panic's contagious. We don't want them to panic. And Mary, I know you're such a great person. You can do this. Hey Bob, listen, I've been listening to my little crank up emergency radio here, and they're talking about looters, and I know that you're an avid hunter, and I know you was in the army back in Desert Storm. Hey, would it be too much to ask for you to pop up on the roof with some binoculars and that deer rifle of yours and keep a lookout? Let me know if there's any trouble coming this way. Me and my family will help move stuff in your house to get everything straightened out. But I just want to make sure that we don't get like raided by all these looters and gangs and stuff. Okay, cool. Hey, Jerry and Carl, you're both on neighborhood watch, right? Yeah. You boys still have your handguns, right? Well, yeah. Okay. I want you to carry them. I think that everybody on neighborhood watch, we need to call a neighborhood watch meeting, and we need to organize some sort of security element, because I've heard about this, and I got Bob up on the roof, but I don't want him setting up there all the whole time with that rifle all by himself and not tending to his things that he needs out. We need to cordon off certain areas and figure out what's dangerous and what's not. We need to start organizing cleanup. Um, hey, Randall, look, I know we don't get along. I don't really agree with your lifestyle or anything, but I'm sorry, man. Look, here's the deal. Uh, you're about the only guy here that I can trust with this, if you don't mind. What do you need? Look, my brother, when the floodwaters hit, our part of our house collapsed, and a dresser fell on his leg when the basement flooded, and it broke his leg. Well, I got him out of the basement. He didn't drown or anything, but he's got a broken leg, and I'm afraid infection's going to set in. So, look, I know there's looters and all this craziness going on, and I know you're a felon and you're not supposed to even have a gun, but here, take mine. And can you take this list and go to the pharmacy? I know it's a far off way, but can you go to that pharmacy, and because I know you'll know what to look for and how to do it and everything else, can you go to that pharmacy, break into that pharmacy, and get me some antibiotics and some painkillers for my brother, and hey, whatever else you want to get, I don't care. Just consider it yours for whatever. I just want my gun back. Hopefully I don't have to shoot anybody, but if you have to, hey, I don't want to put you at risk or anything, man. Is that cool? Can you do this for me? Oh, yeah, shit, you're going to give him a gun to go rob someplace? He's going to get all kinds of pain pills for himself, and you're just going to give him a justification to go do it, a pretext to go do it because he's saving your brother? Oh, hell. Yeah, most likely he will. He'll come back and, you'll be even, but, you'll tell him you owe him one. And he'll feel like he was important. You'll pump him up to be the hero, so all that bad reputation and how much everybody talks shit behind his back, he'll get the rub it in his faces that he did something good that one time. This is where you need to have all this set in place so that when your end goal hits, within a week or two, maybe you can get the houses cleaned out, you can get things organized and straightened out and fixed up and dealt with, so that when a week or two after the floodwaters, have receded, you've gotten, an armed community watch so that your community is secure. You have people who have a small amount of training, which is far more than what most of your criminals are going to have. They're going to have raw experience, but you have some guys with a small amount of training who are going to be a deterrent for criminal activity. You're going to have, which will make you a hard target, which is going to make it easier. It's going to make you less likely to be attacked, because why? Criminals tend to go after a weaker target, so they'll stick with, the guy hiding in his house with his gun and his beans, not wanting to be a part of the community and isolating himself from everyone, more than they will a guy who's got the community as a buffer. Especially when you got Bob up there on the roof with that deer rifle. And during this whole process, hey, maybe while you're trying to, return this sense of normalcy, as it's coming in, sure, FEMA, National Guard, whatever, they might get there. And there's some cases, in Sandy where they didn't get there for weeks. There's cases in Katrina that was reported where they didn't get there for months. Can you imagine? They get there 2 weeks later, and here's people, growing food in their backyard, kids going to school, in a professional school teacher's house. She's teaching them. The kids are learning. There's a community watch force out there. Even though they're armed, they're marginally armed there to defend themselves. And of course, Bob's going to give them the warning, hey, FEMA's coming in. If they're doing gun confiscations, a lot of people's going to hide their shit. And it's going to just be sitting there like, hey, my brother needs medical attention. Well, how come the infection hasn't set in? Well, we had some crackhead. I don't know who he was. He was some criminal. He was coming through with a backpack full of pills, and he dropped it. And I recovered it. And well, I didn't know who it belonged to, and my brother needed pain pills and antibiotics. So yeah, I gave it to him. No one else is going to know about it. No one else needs to know about it. No one else needs to know that, Randall was the guy who went and got it. Now, his people will know, and there might be rumors that he did it, but no. Because I seen the crackhead who dropped it. And, Randall's a white guy, and this guy was black. He might have been, he's kind of light-skinned. He could have been Puerto Rican. I don't want to sound racist by accusing, I just know he had, kind of dark skin, and he didn't say anything. He was just running with a backpack. He tripped, dropped the backpack, and kept on running. One of those situations. This is where, and even then, hey, I owe you one. Well, I just paid you back by keeping you from getting arrested by the police and National Guard for breaking into that pharmacy. And of course, this guy's going to stay higher in hell for a couple of days. He might even end up selling it and, some of those pills or whatever. But once that society has rebuilt itself. But in the end, is it better for him to be selling pills than it is for your brother to be dead slowly from infection because you wouldn't do what was necessary to help him? There's no black or white in when the shit hits the fan. When you're in a high stress situation, there's no black or white. There's what is necessary and what is not. Morality kind of hits a gray area because sometimes what is necessary isn't what feels good. It's not what sometimes what's necessary just doesn't feel good at all. Sometimes what's necessary basically sucks. But it's necessary because, you have to. If you don't, something worse happens to you than, what happens by hurting people and, whatever. It's a necessary evil. We'll just leave it at that. But this is where planning and understanding needs to come in. You need to have a survival strategy. Not worry about tactics. Not try to hide behind the tactic of being invisible. You need to use the tactic of invisibility when invisibility matters, but at the same time, you need to have a strategy so that tactic isn't the only thing that you're relying on. You need to understand that you can be a lone wolf prepper, but you're better off surviving as a community. And sometimes, most of the time, believe it or not, you're going to have to deal with the fact that if you're the only one preparing, you're going to have to step into that leadership role, whether you want to or not, whether you are prepared to or not. You're just going to have to deal with it on the fly. And part of that is knowing when, other people know more than you and letting them lead because, you're not fit to lead in that situation. You're not trying to be the leader, you're trying to be a leader.